So, Lithuania is going to Eurovision 2022 with Sentimentai by Monika Liu. But has it got us feeling all sentimental? Let's review Eurovision. So yes, Lithuania are going to Eurovision 2022 with Lithuania is going to Eurovision 2022 with Sentimentai. Now, obviously, last year, Lithuania sent the Roop and Discotheque, so this is definitely kind of a switch of pace. Last year, they came eighth in the grand final, which I think was a pretty good effort considering kind of how competitive last year was. And they even managed to get 12 points from the UK's televote. So clearly, us here in the UK were big fans of the Roop. But will they do as well this year? They're sending Monika Liu and Sentimentai, so let's have a little listen. So, Jack, what do you think of this one?
Well, if you watch back our review of The Roop last year, it was one of my favourites of the year. I think I put it fourth. So the bar was very, very high. I would happily send The Roop every year from Lithuania. So I did. My expectations were very, very high. And I'm glad to say they've not been met because it's a very, very high bar. But I've certainly not been disappointed. I actually strangely quite like it. It's very weird. It's a bit kooky and a bit funky, but there's something really listenable about it. When it's on, I don't skip it. I definitely don't skip it. And there's the music video dance that she does. I think she does it in the live performance as well. She sort of like shimmies a bit. That is exactly how I feel listening to it. It's really odd. It feels like something I want to vibe to. It's
a bit sexy, a bit.
Yeah, there's something really sensual about it, but in a really 70s almost way. I can't quite put my finger on it, and I think there's a real image about her as well. The fact that her hair is cut into that quite sharp bob. I think there's just a real air of character and authority about it, and she knows that this is exactly who she is, and she's been doing this for years. I know she's quite popular in Lithuania, so I think there's a confidence and that I really admire about it, and I do just really love listening to it. Plus, it's very nice that we've got Lithuanian as a language back in Eurovision. I think it's the first time it's been in since the 90s, so it's a welcome little bit of linguistic diversity. And this is a nice, as you say, a nice shift from the Roop. It's a very welcome one. It doesn't quite live up to it, but I love it.
So Jack's a fan. James, are you on the same page?
Do you know what? I actually love Lithuania's entry this year. I think it's really catchy and it's really different. But I think fundamentally, and I don't know about you guys as well, it is the type of song that I'd listen to outside of Eurovision, without us having to sort of sit down and, like we do, listen to all the Eurovision entries. It's the type of song that I would happily, sort of flick through Spotify, hear it and think, oh, actually, I really like this. It's really catchy. I really love it. I think it's got the potential for some fabulous staging and some interesting staging too. This could be a little bit different. That's what could set this entry apart, perhaps, from some of the others. However, and this is where we have the sort of ... It sounds nearly identical, but an upbeat version of Portugal in 2017. I don't know if that's just something I've picked up on or whether anyone else thinks it too. But yeah, that's the only thing that I'm not a big fan of, because it seems very similar to that. It's giving me same vibes, just more positive. And I don't know whether perhaps, some of the hard, Eurovision fans like us may pick up on that and say, well, actually, this might not be that original. But for the average viewer, however, they could listen to this and think, oh, actually, no, it's really catchy, really different, really upbeat. I've not noticed that connection. But for me, it's very reminiscent of Portugal in 2017, just more upbeat.
Yeah, I think because the bar was set so high last year with the route. I think anything was going to kind of feel like there's a bit of a disappointment. For me, I think it's quite interesting, Jack, that you said she looks very different. I almost think her like image is kind of weirdly channel a bit of Barbara Pravic from last year. She's very kind of like sleek, and it's kind of, a different look, a different kind of song. But I think there is definitely, the dark features, the pale skin. She's definitely kind of got that little kind of ilk. For me, it's not my kind of music. I'm not overly keen on it. I agree with you, Jack, that it's nice that they're sending something in Lithuanian, which, we don't see very often. And it is nice that this year there is a lot more of kind of like linguistic diversity. But yeah, for me, it's not my favorite. Yeah, it's not my favorite. I can accept that, if that's your thing, then yeah, you might like it. But for me, not so much. But yeah, that's what we think. So obviously they're performing in the first semi-final. Whereabouts are they performing again?
They're performing third in the first semi-final.
Third in the first semi-final, so kind of quite near the top. Do we think it's going to make it to the final, and where would we put it personally, Jack?
Well, I'll take the second part of that first. In my personal ranking, I think maybe when I did it, I hadn't quite let all of the songs sit with me for as much time as I have now. So I think in hindsight, I would drop it a little bit further down than when I put it. I put it as my number 9, which on reflection is a bit high. I'd probably drop it down a few places, but it's one of the 10 to 12 songs that I have actually downloaded. It's on my Spotify playlists, my downloads, because I do listen to it. When it comes on, I'm there vibing away to it. I'm sort of doing the little shimmy that she's got going on. I love it. Is she going to qualify? Maybe. Lithuania does have a bit of a run at the minute of, unless the song is really bad, they do qualify. And I think the first semi-final, neither semi-final is particularly strong this year. So she's definitely in with a shot. Now that we know the running order and now that we know she's third, I think she's at more risk of not qualifying than she was before. But this is certainly, I think it's definitely one of the 10 best songs of the semi. I would certainly put it through. Whether Europe thinks it's weird rather than kooky and funky is to be seen. If it gets through, it'll squeak through.
Interesting. Yeah. So for me, I'm kind of on the same page as Jack. I think if it gets through, it'll squeak through. I think on the whole, unless you're kind of like a Eurovision superfan, you're probably going to fall on the side of thinking it's a bit weird rather than kind of unique and different and interesting. For me, I would skip it if it comes on Spotify. I haven't downloaded it. It is my number 28, so kind of bottom half of my rankings. But it's not my vibe. But there we are. So anyway, that's what we thought. What do you think? Do you agree with us, disagree with us? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel and check out our social media page, Instagram as well. So yeah, we'll see you next time.